to share this Bible. It's like not a fully fledged out Bible, but it kind of gives a general sense of what the show is about. So this is the cover page, and it is a basic cover page. It gives the title, which is called Mercy, and I have a background for it. And I listed that it's a supernatural TV show and written by me. So we'll click to the next document, which is the synopsis and logline. So I'm going to blur out the idea because I just don't want to give that away yet. But I will let you know that it is a supernatural paranormal mystery. That's typically what I like to write because that's pretty much like what I watch on a daily basis. So I really love like supernatural shows that have some sort of mystery element to them. And a lot of my fantasies are more like urban fantasies. I have written some fantasies that are more high fantasies, but I actually really like urban fantasies, and I've written some that are present day, some that are historical. This one's going to be more present day and modern. So, yes. This is the synopsis and logline that I'm not going to show you because I don't want to give away the story because I'm still in like the early stages of it, but I kind of just want to show you this document. To give you a feel of what the show kind of looks like, I laid out some comps. So Supernatural, one of the most popular urban fantasy paranormal shows and one of my favorite shows of all time. And I chose Supernatural because there are a lot of specific elements of like the world as well as the plotline a little bit. There are mysteries that happen. Season 1 is more of like a monster of the week. Mine really only deals with certain creatures. So I feel like it's more aligned to like the later seasons. And Supernatural is definitely more like of a procedural show. This show that I have is more serialized. So procedural means like there's a different like mystery or something the boys have to hunt like it's different every week. Serialized means that there's one through line plot line that we're following for the whole season. So Supernatural I chose also because of the tone. I want this to be a little more campy than stuff that I've written before and not so serious. So that's why I kind of chose Supernatural. But I also have Midnight Mass, which I just watched, and it was really, really interesting. And there's some religious aspects of my show because one of the main characters is a divine being. I'm not going to tell you what kind of divine being they are, but they are a divine being. And Midnight Mass dealt with seraphims, which are a specific type of angel. And there's a lot of like religious stuff going on in this town. And I also want to focus for my show that they are in like a religious town, but things aren't like, they don't appear to what they should be. So yeah, Midnight Mass, more for like the world and the religious aspects of it, not necessarily the tone, because it is pretty dark and heavy. So I want it to be more of a tone like Supernatural. And then I have Fallen, which is a limited series, and I think it was on ABC Family, but it was about a fallen angel. It has Paul Wesley in it, and I watched it when it came out. I'm trying to find a place where I could watch it again because it's been so long, but I know there's angels involved and like divine beings involved. That is why I chose Fallen. So those are my comps. Typically you want to have like 2 to 3 comps for your TV or movie. So something that is similar in vein to your show. And it also helps for production because they can kind of gauge like how much your show is going to cost and all that. So it's really good to have comps in there. Then I have my world building section. So clearly it is paranormal, supernatural. It's not an animated TV series. It's going to be live action, but I just kind of chose these pictures because these are elements that are in my show, but it's not animation. but it was really hard to find like non-illustrated things like on Pinterest to like, make this cover page. But anyways, this is just the cover page of the world. Then I go into detail of the specific beings that are in my story. So I kind of give a brief like intro of what they are and their powers and how to kill them. And because it's important in the show on knowing how to kill them. And I should write how I want them to look. I don't have that in here, but that is important because you want to let people know like how these creatures are going to look. And I've kind of based some stuff off of like folklore and stuff like that, but also kind of put my own spin on those folklore things or folklore aspects. So yeah. So we have the main creatures, and pretty much all of these have the same information for each being. And then, yeah. So I'll just show you the pictures. But I guess I'll tell you, like, so I'm going to have seraphims in my story. They're going to be completely different from the Midnight Mass ones. They're not going to be as evil in Midnight Mass, and they're going to be more of like a healing being versus a being that kills. So yeah, that is one of the main creatures. And then I'm also going to have werewolves, and that'll come into play a little bit later in the series, but because they are going to be in the series, I needed a dedicated page for them. Then we also have shapeshifters, which are very different from werewolves, and because they can shapeshift into anything. They have similar abilities and stuff like that, but like they're very different from werewolves. And they can turn at any time versus turning in the moonlight. Then we have demon hunters. So I have Jensen Ackles here because he is in Supernatural and is a demon hunter. And obviously they're human. They don't really have powers. So I kind of just gave a brief introduction of like what they're going to be and like what their role is in this story. Then I have a page just of like the tone, some aesthetics, and a couple of more comps in there, but clearly it's gonna be a little kooky and fun and weird, but also like fantastical. So I tried to put shows and stuff in there that have that tone, and then I put in the creatures that are gonna be in this world. Then I go into my characters. So to me, the most important thing of a show, are the world and the characters. So I usually start with the world or I start with the characters, like when I'm writing my outline. It really depends on like what kind of show it is. Because this is more of a fantasy show, I started with the world and then I go into the characters. And what I do, I always put a picture with my characters. It doesn't have to be the specific actor who plays this role. I mostly put a picture there to kind of give like the vibes I'm going for, like physical attributes, kind of the look I'm going for with this character, and also like roles that I may have liked them from before, and maybe they have similar, like those roles have similar aspects to the characters I'm writing, if that makes any sense. So here is a little preview of some of the characters, and we'll get into the characters. So again, for the character slides, I put the picture. So this is Kristen Craig. I mainly put her for her looks as well as her kind of like personality traits of when she played Lana in Smallville, because they're going to have similar traits and personalities. But what I do is I give kind of like a brief one-liner of like who they are and their role in the story. Then I kind of give an overview of what their like synopsis is going to be for season 1, and like a brief line of like what their past was like. I go more into depth in like the proposal part of it, but I'm not in like a Bible. I try to make it more concise. in the Bible. Then I briefly go over their personality, and then I also go into their goals and their needs, because those are the two most important things in the show, like goals, wants, and needs of your character. So yeah, her name is Isabel. She's the main character. Then we have a supporting character, Nick, and again, similar layout. This actor, I've seen him in stuff before. I can't remember his name. Oh, I think it's like, I have it in Jordan Calloway. He's been in quite a few things, and I kind of picked him more so for the looks, because I like to have diverse characters in my shows. So I try to not have a lot of white people in my shows. So yeah, anyways, so that's Nick. And then we have Charles, who is kind of an antagonist, and he is very involved in Isabel's life, but he starts off as an antagonist because he doesn't like Nick at all, but he grows to like Isabel and tries to understand like who she is and all that, and has some struggles of like his relationship with her because of his goals in this story. So yeah, I'm really excited about his character and how I'm gonna write him. It's actually really fun, like, writing an antagonist. And for me, like, I'd rather see like a growth of an antagonist versus like the fall of an antagonist. So that's just how I like to write antagonists. But yeah, anyways. So then we have other supporting characters. So this is Evan, and it is Isabel's brother. Then we have Blaine, who is Nick's older brother. And then Suzanne. And these names are not set in stone. These are just the names that I had in the book that I wrote. So I might change them. But this is Suzanne, who is Blaine and Nick's cousin, who is really like close with them and is more like a sister to them versus being just a cousin. She is really protective of them and doesn't really love Isabel. So yeah, she's kind of an antagonist of Isabel's character. Oh, I need to change this picture because that is not, so sorry about that. Okay, I made duplicate slides and then I kind of just changed the text and stuff in the picture, and I forgot to do that for this page. So sorry about that. Yeah, this is Paula, who is Isabel and Evan's mom. And she kind of plays more of an antagonist in the beginning because Isabel is a very rebellious character, and Paula feels very distant from her own kids, especially when the main inciting incident happens of the pilot. So yeah, that is the mom, Paula. I use Sandra Oh because I feel like she kind of looked like the other characters and she gives motherly qualities to me. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, so that's the last slide. Again, this is like the early stages of this Bible. Typically, you'll also have like the synopsis of the season 1, and then future seasons if you are going to have future seasons. And then if yours is like a limited series, you would put like a synopsis of each episode in that season. But if yours is gonna go on for more seasons, you'll want to put like a brief summary of each season for however long you see this going for. So I've written like a pilot that I kind of had like 3 seasons, like 3 to 4 seasons in mind. I feel like going past 4 seasons is when things really start to get murky and like not that great. I feel like the writing just doesn't, like, the flow of the writing isn't as good. So I feel like 3 to 4 seasons is kind of like my sweet spot. Obviously Supernatural is different because that lasted for 19 seasons, or was it 20? That's a good question, actually. Oh, I was way off. 15 seasons. I thought it was way more than that. But yeah, that makes sense because it started in 2005, ended in 2020. And honestly, it probably could have gotten longer, but I feel like the pandemic kind of screwed things up for them because they literally ended in 2020. But because it was procedural, I felt like it had legs to like last that long, and obviously got a little bit more mixed between procedural and serialized like as we went on with the show, as I mentioned before. But like I feel like that is an outlier of a show. I feel like there are shows like Grey's Anatomy that last forever and ever, but I literally couldn't tell you the last time I watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy. So yeah, it really depends. And also depends on the popularity of the show. Like you might have 3 to 4 seasons in mind, but it really depends on how well it kicks off and could even go longer. That's also the thing with limited series, is sometimes some of them will start off as a limited series. They might continue on because they were so popular. But yeah, I just wanted to share you guys that because I am a writer and I want to show more of my writing with you guys. And I'll kind of just show you the process of writing this show probably. Right now, I am currently writing a feature film, and it's an adaptation of The Great Gatsby. I'm almost done writing that. I'm like about to hit sequence 6. I write in the 8 sequence structure. That's what we learned in school. And I really like it. Like I'm really enjoying the story. This is like the first draft. I came up with this idea in school and I had started writing it a while ago, but then I stopped and I got back into it and I was like, I'm almost done with this. So let me just finish this. Hopefully I can finish that soon and then I'll probably start this project. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. But yeah, that was a long update. I apologize. I probably won't update any time soon today. And before I go, tomorrow I had plans to go to Hello 82, which is like a pop-up K-pop store, but they're having another pop-up right now of a group that I don't really care about, and I feel like it's going to be pretty busy. And the reason why I wanted to go was to try to get merch for P1 Harmony, but I think I'll just probably get the merch at the concert. I really don't feel like going to Beverly Hills tomorrow. So yeah, I just don't feel like doing that. So I might do some like errands tomorrow. I didn't get a chance to go to Barnes & Noble today, but I might tomorrow instead and go to a few other places, but that might be like in the morning. This day is like flying by. It's almost 5 o'clock. I don't even know how that happened. If I'm gonna be honest, I feel like and like my laundry, there's something going on with my laundry, so that's taking longer. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling and continue on with the day. I think I'm gonna read for a little bit and do that. So I'm glad I don't have to cook, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I'm gonna end this now because this is like long. So I hope you enjoyed it though, and maybe you're like an aspiring writer or something. So I definitely want to get into more like writing stuff for this channel. But yeah, goodbye. Hi guys, so I have been having a bit of a headache today, so I ended up not going anywhere today just because I've been having really bad symptoms. So I've just been kind of lounging around and doing more writing. So I added a couple more characters to the show that I talked about yesterday, and so a couple added after the mom, which was the last person I think I showed you. So now I have Ross, who is going to be the private investigator and like on the case, because I realized I needed an investigator for this murder mystery. So he's kind of like an antagonist at first, but then he really just wants to help Isabel, but Isabel has trust issues, and Ross finds out what she is, like not in the pilot, but like later in the show, and becomes an ally. So he kind of has a very drastic arc in the show. And I pictured Sam Tremmel. I started watching this show last night called The Order. I've never heard of it, but I stumbled upon it on Netflix, and it's like a witch show. And he's in it. And I was like, I haven't seen you since True Blood. So I feel like he kind of fits private investigator vibes. But yeah, anyways, that is Ross. Then this is a very religious town, so I was like, I need a priest of this town. And this priest is actually going to be an antagonist, And I pictured Tom Ellis as the antagonist because he played Lucifer, and he kind of just has that like moody look, and he just so happened to be wearing a cross necklace in this picture. So he is the local priest, and he's very traditional, set in his ways, and he kind of sets rules for the town to like utilizes his power, and he kind of doesn't trust anyone and doesn't really like Nick's family, and he ends up working with like the main supernatural antagonist of the story, which I realized I needed like a main antagonist like a supernatural antagonist, because this is a supernatural show. And I was kind of like thinking about it all throughout today, and I kind of figured out what it's going to be. So it's going to be a demon. I haven't figured out what kind of demon, but Priest Adams basically is working with the demon and lures the children that go missing to this demon to kind of like feed the demon. So I have to figure out like the demon because I kind of just came up with this today. But so he's kind of working with this demon. So he's straight up an antagonist. Like, he doesn't have any arc or anything. He is the main bad guy along with the demon creature. And then this is Caitlin, who is going to be the sister of Isabel and Evan, the one who goes missing. And there isn't much on her because she goes missing right as the pilot starts. So she's only shown like in the teaser and then also in like brief images as Isabel tries to harness her powers. Hi everyone, so it is Monday morning and I am outlining the project I was talking about over the weekend. I'm going to start a new vlog. It's going to be a writing vlog, as I try to write throughout the week, like in the mornings when I can and when I feel up to it. So I am going to start outlining this story. I'm still writing my Great Gatsby story, but I'm not really in the mood to write that this morning. So I will probably write that at some other point in the week. But I wanted to try something different with the outlining. I was watching a screenwriter on Instagram. I'll link her Instagram in the description, but she talked about the beat board that's on Final Draft, and I've never used this before, but I figured this is kind of like the flashcard method that we learned in school, but it's like electronic. So I'm gonna like organize this by act essentially, and then kind of rearrange these beats that I laid out with the A, B, and C story to the actual like act breakdown. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I think what is interesting about this is that you'll write like the scene heading and then like a brief description of what the scene is gonna be, and it should, like, the scene heading should pop up in the manuscript when you start writing. That's what I've heard, so that would be really cool. So I'm gonna try this out, see how it is, see if I like this outlining process. But yeah, what's good about this story is that I already had written a book. So I know like certain beats that I want to be in the pilot, and obviously the whole book's not going to be in the pilot, but major plot points will be in the pilot. So it kind of like, it was pretty fast like when I finished outlining it this weekend, but because I already had that stuff in the back of my head, so I kind of knew how I wanted it to be laid out. But yeah, I'm gonna try this out and write for a little bit. I kind of woke up a little bit late today, so I wasn't really in the mood to write, but I have a little bit of time before I have to leave for work, so I thought I'd get some words down. And yeah, I actually have a meeting online with a writer, so I have that later in the afternoon, so excited about that. So yeah, I will let you know how that goes later on. everyone. So I just wanted to close out this writing vlog. It was kind of sporadic and I kept forgetting to update you guys, but it's more of like a writing process vlog more than anything. And I really hope you enjoyed seeing how I write my screenplays. And I wanted to update you that I did finish my Great Gatsby script. I mentioned earlier that I was almost done with it. I was on sequence 6, and after that I finished act 3 pretty quickly because act 3 is kind of like the culmination of your story. It only includes sequences 7 and 8, and those are pretty action packed, so it was really easy to finish. I really enjoy writing like the first sequence and then like the last 2 sequences of a story. To me, the hardest sequence to write is probably like sequence 3, because that's when your character is kind of in this new world or this new part in their life after the inciting incident. So, and that's kind of hard because it leads up to the midpoint, which is another huge part of your story. So I feel like sequence 3 for me is the hardest to write, and sequence 5, because I never really know like how to keep sequence 5 engaging. So, because that's like a lot of like the growth and stuff that happens before your big arc happens at the end. But yeah, I did finish it and I really like it. I might put it in some competitions, but right now what I do after I finish the script is I read it over and I will make small edits. I'll make edits to the dialogue, to action scenes, if I can, or action lines, to see if I can make them a bit more concise and to see if I can cut down anything, because I tend to overwrite my scripts. But yeah, that's kind of like the next step in the script. And I don't know how much further I'll like rewrite it, because without getting people to read it, it's really hard for me to rewrite it. So, because I don't know like what scenes work, what scenes do. There's some scenes that I really like, some that I'm like about, but I wrote a pretty decent outline, so I feel like this script is like pretty fleshed out. So I feel like I'm just going to do like minor changes right now and maybe place it. It's an adaptation, so I might place it in some adaptation competitions. I will have to see how to do that now, because the website I was using before no longer exists. It's called Coverfly, and they stopped doing stuff this year. I don't know why, if maybe it had something to do with DEI or something like that, but now they're on Stage 32. I know there's like Film Freeway and like other places you can apply, and I try to do like the smaller ones so versus the bigger ones, because I know I can, like, I'm a pretty good writer, like people have told me. So I try to place in like smaller competitions to like level up a little bit more. And yeah, and I think the deadline for Austin Film Festival has already passed, so I'll try maybe that for next year with another script that I have. But yeah, that's kind of like the next process of writing, is like kind of drafting it and rewriting certain things and then placing it into competitions, because that's another way you can get people to read your scripts, is through competitions. But yeah, that is the update. For the story that I talked about in the beginning, I think I'm going to write that next, just because I kind of have a vision of what I want it to be, and it's pretty like fleshed out because I have that book that I wrote in that it's based off of. So I think I'll probably do that. I want to make a couple of changes to that one and make it actually more fantasy heavy, because I'm trying to flesh out my portfolio. So I have a historical fantasy that I wrote in school, and that's one that's placed in a lot of competitions. And then my scripts kind of vary, but they always have some, or not scripts, my film scripts kind of vary because I try to add some fantasy elements or sci-fi elements. And I do have a couple of like rom-coms that I have started outlining. I don't know when I'll write those, but I want to have a broader range of my portfolio. So this one, I kind of want to make like a procedural, but I want to make it more of like a high fantasy because I feel like I don't really see a lot of high fantasy procedurals. I always see like urban fantasy procedurals. And I mentioned to you, procedurals are like kind of the monster of the week series. And yeah, so I feel like that'll give a good taste that like I can write high fantasies, but I can also make it procedural versus serialized. And then I do want to have like a script set in modern day. I have a sports drama in mind that I have kind of started, but I kind of want to flesh it out a little bit more. So I have that. I have a dystopian that I've kind of started outlining. So it's interesting because I do like writing more genre-based stuff, but I feel like television right now is focusing on like real world, like modern day kind of stuff and very drama heavy because they're cheap to make. So, and the movie and film industry is kind of in a weird spot right now. So, yeah, but I do also have a book idea that I want to get into. So, I might work simultaneously on that with this next script I'm writing. So yeah, that is all the updates. I just wanted to close out these vlogs because I always forget to close out the vlogs for you guys. But I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will do more writing vlogs for you guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to make them like somewhat interesting. I hope you like this one. I'm so hard at like making vlogs interesting. So yeah, I try to like update it or like make it interesting in the editing, but because it's just me like writing. So I try to give like tidbits and all that stuff. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. So I will see you all for the next video. Bye.